Do you feel pressure right now? Do you feel that there's a sense of urgency in the air this evening? That our time is starting to press in on us a little bit? At the beginning of this pandemic, at the beginning of our time in isolation, many of us started breathing out and enjoying that time with family. I know for some it was a very isolating time and still is. And for others, there was a moment in the beginning where we could catch our breath from the busyness of life and just be. But no longer. Now, time, pressure, feelings seem like they are surrounding us and pushing in on us this evening. So if you feel that pressure as I do, let's take a breath together. Hold the air in, exhale, letting it swirl around you, bringing us a measure of calm because it's Shabbat. We know that pressure, that urgency can lead to some measure of burnout. We know that with our Shabbat candles, that the hotter that fire burns, the bigger that flame, the more that wind buffets it and blows against it, that oxygen enriching it, letting it really develop, the faster the candle snuffs out. We know that candle can go out too soon before the flame can properly catch, before the flame and passion can properly spread. Like for those of us that have been barbecuing these past few days, this beautiful weather, that initial flame when you first light the coals, which burns with intensity, but you don't want to cook with that flame. When that initial flame is there on those coals, you don't want to spread them out too thin, or else they will die down. And what you've been hoping for doesn't come to fruition. We know in those relationships that we care the most about, they must transition from passion to that steady glow of love. In the new Musar Torah commentary, which recently came out through CCAR Press, there's a beautiful article on this week's Torah portion by Rabbi Dr. Sonia Piltz, who I've gotten the chance to know as she is the editor I've been working with at the CCAR Press, and a graduate of our rabbinical seminary, the Abraham Geiger College in Germany. And she teaches this week about patience, about savlanut. The root of that word has to do with carrying a burden, with carrying things. The idea is for more than just that moment that you can lift up that heavy weight, but maintaining that carrying through the distance. She reads the Torah as a love story between God and the Jewish people, and finds lessons in this week's parasha about the need for patience. In our Torah reading this week, we're about to enter the land of Israel, but find that it is then, as it is now, already occupied. And we turn down the offer from God to march in immediately and take over the land. And in God's eyes, there's a break of trust. We don't trust God's offer. And so God, in God's anger and pain, lashes out at us. Rabbi Piltz writes, in our Torah portion, God expects the people to be both brave and trusting, and when they are not, God reacts with angry disappointment. God punishes the spies and the people for being anxious and hesitant. However, Musar defines savlanut not only as a character trait, but also as a practice of endurance over time. Like love, patience can only become manifest in time. What good would it be if we were patient or loving for exactly a second? Musar teaches patience both with ourselves and with others. The patience it takes to forgive ourselves, our own anxieties and paralyzing doubts, and the terrible consequences those might unfold in our lives. The patience it takes to postpone and adjust our visions. The patience it takes to perceive ourselves and others clearly. The patience it takes to assess and accept reality, including our fears, and the time we need to become more faithful and trusting. In this week's parashah, God is not able to have that patience, that endurance to carry on with the Jewish people. And so God lashes out in anger and disappointment, and there's a break in the relationship. Where we are right now in the scope of the pandemic, there are many that are feeling the rush to reconnect. And of course, we can learn from this. There's also a need to continue carrying on with patience. Also, today, as many of us have recently learned, the 19th of June is a day which is historic in the history of the United States of America, our neighbor to the south. It is the day in which slavery ended in the Confederate States, the states which used to be part of that breakaway, the Confederacy. Not, of course, the last day of slavery in the United States of America or here in North America. There were slaves after in border states until the 13th Amendment was passed. But a day when finally in those Confederate states, slavery came to an end. And so on this Juneteenth, we also recognize the anti-racism work that we feel urgently, that we feel is demanding upon us as human beings in order to end violence and brutality and difference based on the color of skin or any other difference in society. And I'm afraid that we are going to burn out, that this allyship will not last more than a news cycle, more than an immediate response to a murder, more than an immediate response to the tragic events which unfold in the world around us. Both the big events and hurtful events that we see, but also the everyday structural inequality which exists in the United States and, yes, here too in Canada. We are now, I hope, in the end of this moment of passion. And I hope that means that we're starting to, like that coal, turn into something which will last, which will sustain. As the flames die down and that passion dies down, I hope that we still have a steady warmth and a steady fire inside of us deep into the night. Shabbat Shalom.